Welcome to Club Libertas, the private membership club for the modern mystic. Here, we decode the hidden power within us all, unlocking our true essence and bringing peace, harmony, and transformation into our lives. Today, we're exploring one of the most misunderstood spiritual experiences, the dark night of the soul. This isn't just suffering to endure, it's a sacred initiation that few have the courage to fully embrace. In these next few minutes, we'll unveil the true purpose behind this profound process, why fighting against it only prolongs your suffering, and how complete surrender becomes the gateway to power beyond anything you've previously imagined. Chapter 1. The Sacred Destruction. Most people misunderstand the dark night of the soul. They see it as something to escape, to fix, to rush through so they can return to normal. But this fundamental misunderstanding is precisely what keeps them trapped in suffering. The truth is stark, yet liberating. There is no going back. The version of you that entered this storm will not be the one that emerges. And that's exactly the point. The universe isn't punishing you, it's refining you, stripping away everything that isn't authentically you until what remains is unbreakable. This process is as old as humanity itself. The ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead described it as dismemberment of the soul. The alchemists called it nigredo, the blackening stage where matter decomposes before transformation. In every mystical tradition, we find this truth. Before rebirth comes death. The first sign of this process is often painful disconnection. People you thought would always be there suddenly can't understand you. Conversations feel forced. Connections fade. This isn't random cruelty, it's purposeful recalibration. You're not losing these people. You're being removed from frequencies that can no longer sustain your evolution. Action step. Rather than fighting to hold on to what's breaking apart, ask yourself, what is this separation making space for in my life? Then sit in stillness with the answer that arises. Chapter 2. The Void, where true power is born. After the destruction comes the most challenging phase, the void. This is when everything has fallen away and there's nothing left to distract you from yourself. No identities to hide behind, no external validation to cling to, just you, sitting in emptiness, realizing that everything you thought gave your life meaning was never real. This is where most seekers break. This is where they run back to illusion, desperate to fill the void with something, anything, to avoid facing the terrifying truth that nothing outside themselves can save them. But those who make it through, those rare souls who don't run, they sit in the emptiness, they let the silence consume them, they die to everything they thought they were, and then something impossible happens. They realize the void wasn't empty at all. It was clearing space for something greater. The mystic Meister Eckhart described this perfectly. To get at the core of God at his greatest, one must first get into the core of himself at his least. This void is where your true power is born, not in noise or external validation, but in surrender, in the moment you stop fighting and allow the universe to remake you. Action. Step. Dedicate 20 minutes each day to sitting with the void. Don't try to fill it with distractions. Simply observe what arises when you stop running from emptiness. Chapter 3. The Rebuilding. A test of creation. Surviving the dark night is only half the journey. The real challenge comes afterward, in the rebuilding. After everything has been stripped away, the universe watches, asking one silent question: what will you create now? Here lies a subtle trap. Without conscious awareness, you'll start rebuilding the same life you just lost, returning to familiar patterns, relationships, and habits because they feel safe. But safety was never the point of this transformation. The entire purpose of the dark night was to destroy the false self, to burn away illusions, to remove everything that kept you small. Now, you face a choice. Will you pick up the ashes of your old life, trying to reassemble what was broken? Or will you step into the unknown and create something entirely new? True rebirth requires absolute trust. Faith that the universe didn't bring you this far just to abandon you. Those who fully transcend the dark night emerge as something entirely new, no longer bound by past limitations or illusions. Action step. Write down 3 aspects of your old identity that you're still clinging to. For each one, ask, what would I create in this area if I were starting completely fresh, with no attachment to my past? Chapter 4. The final illusion. The need to search. There's one final illusion that traps most seekers after the dark night, the need to search. They survive the collapse, endure the loneliness, start rebuilding, but remain caught in endless seeking. They look for signs, chase purpose, collect spiritual knowledge, yet still feel something is missing. The truth is revolutionary. There is nothing to search for. Everything you've been looking for is already here. The very act of searching keeps you trapped in the belief that what you need is somewhere outside yourself. The great Sufi poet Rumi knew this when he wrote, "Why are you knocking at every other door? Go, knock at the door of your own heart." When you stop searching, stop chasing, stop making your peace conditional on some future moment, that's when everything finds you. The universe was never holding anything back. You were holding it back from yourself by believing it was somewhere outside you. When you finally stop running from the truth that was always there, the right people appear, opportunities flow effortlessly, and clarity becomes obvious. Action step. For 1 week, practice complete acceptance of this moment exactly as it is. Whenever you catch yourself searching for something more, bring yourself back with the phrase, "Everything I need is already here." The ultimate surrender. The dark night of the soul isn't punishment, it's initiation. It's the universe loving you enough to destroy everything that isn't truly you. The struggle isn't in the destruction itself, but in your resistance to it. When you finally surrender, not with the expectation of something better, but with complete acceptance of the unknown. That's when life gives you something beyond anything your old self could have imagined. Here at Club Libertas, we honor your journey through this sacred darkness. We recognize that true power isn't found in clinging to comfort, but in having the courage to die to everything familiar and be reborn into your authentic essence. Remember, what feels like death is actually the beginning. What feels like loss is actually freedom. What feels like darkness is the sacred space where your true self is finally revealed. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. Until next time, embrace the darkness, surrender to the process, and trust that what emerges from the ashes will be unbreakable, unstoppable, and truly free.